I'm trying. Joe, it's not allowing me to record.
Recording in progress.
Good morning. I would like to announce again the Cemetery Commission meeting, which is Thursday, April 24th, 2025 at 9 o'clock in the morning at Lunenburg Town Hall. If we could all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Amen.
Thank you. Okay, welcome everyone to the meeting, the Cemetery Commission meeting, again at Lunenburg Town Hall. I need to read a few things. In accordance with the requirement of the open meeting law, please be advised that this meeting is being recorded and broadcasted live over the Lunenburg Public Access channel on Facebook Live on the Public Access Facebook page and will be uploaded to the Lunenburg Access YouTube after the meeting. This meeting will be held in person at the location provided on this notice. Members of the public are welcome to attend in person. Please note that while an option for remote attendance and/or participation is being provided as a courtesy to the public, the meeting will not be superseded or determined if technology problems interrupt the virtual broadcast unless otherwise required by law. Members of the public with particular interest in the specific item on this agenda should make plans for an in-person versus virtual attendance accordingly. A member of the public who wishes to record a meeting must first notify the chair and must comply with the reasonable requirements regarding audio or video equipment established by the chair as not to interfere with the meeting. The chair is required to inform other attendees of such recording at the beginning of the meeting. If someone arrives after the meeting has begun and wishes to record the meeting, the person should attempt to notify the chair prior to the beginning recording. The chair should endeavor to acknowledge such attempts at notification and announce the fact of the recording to these attendees. Additionally, please be advised that the town of Lunenburg utilizes Zoom platform as host for the hybrid and remote meetings that the Zoom platform utilizes AI technology known as AI Companion to create audio transcriptions of the meeting to aid in the preparation of meeting minutes, and that AI Companion is activated immediately upon launching the Zoom application. You are hereby notified that the AI technology may capture audio prior to the start of this meeting and/or following the conclusion of the meeting. The agenda lists all the topics which will be discussed at the meeting and are those reasonably anticipated by the chair. Votes may be taken as a result of these discussions. Not all items listed may in fact be discussed, and other items not listed may also be brought up for discussion permitted by the open meeting law. Public participation is encouraged and public comments may be welcomed during the committee member discussions, the discretion by the chair. Please note during public comment that you have 3 minutes to give your public comment. Thank you. Okay, so the first on the agenda, let's go through the approved minutes for, or approve the minutes from March 27, 2025 meeting. Has everybody read that?
I have.
Okay. I'd like to make a motion to accept the meeting for March 27, 2025. All in favor?
Second.
Oh, sorry.
Okay.
Sorry.
Dave seconded?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. The motion has passed. All right, the next on the agenda, we're going to change it a little bit. Let's have Ezekiel, which is our Town of Lunenburg Director of Finance, and he's going to give a presentation and kind of a review that we've done before, but there seems to be some confusion on it, so I want to make sure that the public understands, what the cemetery, what we have as far as rules and regulations, and who better but to bring in the finance director to do that. Thank you, Ezekiel, for joining us today.
Oh, you're welcome. So the presentation I have here is no different than the presentation I gave about a year ago to the commission. They're all Mass General laws, rules, and regulations, so there really are no updates unless it's brought forth by the Commonwealth. So I'm going to start with the first. I'm going to go through the various funds, state the Mass General law, and how it goes by the specific procedure within town on either spending or allocation, things like that. So first one I will start with is the sale of lots fund. We have identified that as Fund 8115. That's our internal fund number for the sale of lots. Per Mass General Law, Chapter 114, Section 25, the proceeds of sale of lots or rights of burial of such cemeteries shall be paid into the town of treasury and be appropriated to reimburse the town for cost of land, its care, improvement, and embellishment or enlargement of the cemetery. Also, to ensure continuous day-to-day operations and streamline procedures for the community, the sale of lots fund shall be handled by the cemetery superintendent. The cemetery superintendent shall adhere to the town of Lunenburg's turnover policy regarding protocol and report any receipts to the cemetery commission, along with other pertinent information as required. Any refunds or expenses directly out of this fund will need a majority vote from the cemetery commission. All refund requests provided to the town accountant must be accompanied by documentation of said commission approval. Also, the approval may also be documentation of minutes as well.
Can I stop you for one?
Yep.
I just want to see, is there any questions on this one? Because we're going to go through it just real quick. Is there any questions that you have on this?
No.
Anybody? Bill? No. You?
Yeah, I think once we cover the capital article, so that we cover how we transfer money.
Absolutely.
Questions.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you. Sorry.
No, it's okay. And the next one is the capital article fund, identified as in our internal fund number 3006. Through a warrant article at Lunenburg's annual town meeting, a transfer from the sale of lots account is requested. The funds are to be used for the care, improvement, embellishment for town cemeteries. Once voted and established, the town accountant shall transfer the balances as specified by the warrant article or report back to the cemetery commission that the transfer has been completed and the funds are available for use. So there's a little confusion between the sale of lots fund and the capital article here. So the sale of lots fund is more day-to-day care, and it's per the purview of the cemetery commission. So if there are expenses day-to-day that are outside of the normal scope, I'll let the commission identify what that is. That's not up to me to identify. However, the capital article is more for large improvements. If you're putting in, for example, a crematorium, something like that, some kind of capital item that's particularly a large number in nature, that's what this is for. It's more of a transparent to the town that this is what we're doing. We're putting this on the town meeting warrant, and the community can vote on either to approve or disapprove the transfer.
So for the sale of lots funds, then, if we wanted to do something small, we could decide for whatever amount of money. We don't have a set limit, but we could say, yeah, we want to do this project. It's just within the business of the board and concurrence with the DPW superintendent, and then we can authorize money out of that sale of lots balance.
Absolutely.
Outside a town meeting.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And then if we want to do something big, we feel town meeting should have exposure to it and concurrence, we go to town meeting to transfer that money.
Correct.
Which has been done in the past. And then there's a third, though, if if we want to do a capital project that's significant, like the back lot, which we don't feel we should pull out of the day-to-day sale of lots, or we can get a article, on that article for capital expenditures, we can get a placeholder to get approved, like we're doing with the back lot expansion.
Correct. So you can put in a request through the capital committee to expend those funds, either, through the town manager, outside of the normal sale of lots transfer.
Okay, and so that, if it's approved at town meeting, ours is 50K, that will not show up then in the sale of lots or the capital article
Correct,
fund, right?
correct.
So that'll be something the town manager and yourself and the
Correct.
DPW director manage.
Correct.
Okay. So, because there are questions, why aren't we moving money around to do various projects? And I think you've clarified it, that for significant projects, we're going to the town to fund it. For smaller projects, we can give exposure to the town and use the money from the sale of lots. And for even smaller items, we can just spend the money.
Correct.
Okay.
At what amount is the capital funds used? Is it 25,000? Is it 30? And where does this stop at perpetual funds and pick up at capital?
Well, the capital article, when the commission puts in the request to transfer from the sale of lots funds, it should be identified what the funds are going to be used for at that point in time. So if you have a particular project, let's say, typically it's been 10,000. So let's say you have a particular project in mind, you should identify that project at that time of transfer.
Okay.
So that way, those funds are solely used for that project, and it's transparent that way
So
as well.
it's project-based, not amount-based?
Correct.
Okay.
But I think I want to add to that is that what you and I have talked about in the past, Ezekiel, is again, that, best business practices, you want to only take, what did we say, 20 to 25,000 out of that if we're going to do a larger project. We don't want to keep depleting that. That's the one thing that this commission has done. It started after Lance May unfortunately passed away, and then Bill Tyler took over, and myself, is that we stated that we wanted to make sure that we were solvent, and that's what we've done. And I think everybody needs to really give themselves a pat on the back, including yourself, Ezekiel, again, helping us through that process and making sure that, we had the money, that the town manager could also come and say, hey, look, you know what, I need to move something, I'd like you guys to help out if that's possible, if that's the way it goes, or Bill, there's something that you need, vice versa. I think we've done well by doing that. In fact, I want to stop for a second and say welcome, Town Manager Jennifer Warren, who is here. She came in to listen to our meeting and just be part of that. So if there's any questions or anything, Jennifer, please feel free. Thank you.
So we can, as time goes, we can kind of look at what we bring in for how many lots sold a year, and then we know, okay, we're bringing in, say, 30K or whatever, and then that's probably a baseline to spend it.
That's a good approach.
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
But again, you don't want to do that every year.
exactly. You want to manage a balance too. You don't want to deplete the funds, like
Yeah.
Nancy had mentioned.
And unfortunately, there was a time that happened, so we just never want to get there. Or go back there, I should say. Okay?
Okay. Next is the Cemetery Perpetual Care Trust Fund. Per Mass General Law, Chapter 114, is for the overall maintenance and development necessitated by the natural growth in ordinary wear. A portion of the proceeds from the sale of each grave or burial niche is designed for the Perpetual Care Trust Fund according to the fee schedule adopted by the Cemetery Commission during the budget process. The use of the use of the Perpetual Care Trust Fund is under the purview of the Cemetery Commission only. So the Perpetual Care Trust Fund is broken down into two portions. The principal, which internal is our fund number 8001, is not expendable. This is the principal set aside for investment only. The second portion is the interest. Our internal fund number 8000 is expendable. Is the earned interest thereof is used to provide perpetual care. Only the interest earnings from the funds can be utilized to support the costs associated with the cemetery operations. Interest earners may also fund capital improvements associated with the cemetery. So you're able to use the interest for capital projects as well.
Any questions?
The perpetual care, I have what you made up from
As a
balances of 331.25. So the perpetual care is separate from the sale of lots,
Correct.
okay? And currently, there's 17,000 from 2024. Interest revenue is 2,800. So we would use the 2,800, the interest.
Well, you could use the prior year interest also. So you can use, there's a total of 20,078. So that's the entire interest you're able to
Okay.
use, yes.
Okay,
So you can pull from that.
you can pull from that too.
Yes.
And we would just let you know where we'd want to pull from.
Yes, and I also need, verification minutes and possibly, something signed by either the board or the chair verifying the minutes, so we can do so.
Okay,
And you'll guide us too if, like I said, that, we pull from the right place as far as saying 20,000 here, we'll take from that versus, asking for more money when we don't need to, when we have that availability, if that's what needs to be
Absolutely.
done. Okay, perfect. Any other?
Yeah, I guess that
Oh.
would be it, because it seems like the description overlaps a little. If you're repairing a rock wall, is that capital or is that perpetual? I think if you're buying flowers in the spring for the planters, that's probably perpetual
Perpetual.
care.
I would think that the rock wall would be capital,
Yeah, yeah.
because it's
So
a
there's
major,
that, Yeah.
it's a project.
Right, right. And then what is the split when they actually deposit so it's a $800 per plot fee, right? So what is the split of,
I don't have the schedule of how the split, I believe it may be 500 to sale of cemetery lots and 300 to the perpetual care, but I'm not
Okay.
100% positive on that.
I think it's half and half. but-
Is it half and
Yeah, I
half?
think
Okay.
it's half and half.
Okay.
Isn't that what you remember?
Off the top of my head, I can't remember, but I'll look it up, get it to you.
Okay, yeah.
Doesn't-
Bill can get it for us, but I think,
I see it on the other end, when it's
Yeah.
all done. I don't see the split beforehand.
Yeah.
final number?
Yes.
Okay, great.
yeah,
But the town gets some of that.
correct. That's what we're talking about, is half and half. I mean, was going to say for this meeting that I believe it's half and half, that the town gets 400 and then the sale of lots gets 400.
Okay.
But Bill will take that as a action item to come back to us on. Okay,
The next one is cemetery gift fund. Identified as internal fund number 1548. Per Mass General Law, Chapter 114, Section 25, a town in which cemetery commissioners are chosen may receive gifts or bequests for maintaining cemeteries or cemetery lots, which shall be paid into the town treasury, and the accounts thereof shall be kept separate from the other money and accounts of said town. The town of Lunenburg may receive gifts or maintenance of cemeteries and cemetery lots. These gifts must be turned over to the treasurer and is maintained as a separate fund. Again, no expenses shall occur without the vote from the commission. And, yes. And I have a blurb in there. If there is a refund request for whatever reason, it must also go to the cemetery commission for approval.
So I have one question on this. So under the cemetery gift fund, we have, I think, 200 and something dollars in there right now. Do you put, like, if somebody wants to give a donation or a gift to the cemetery commission, does that go all underneath that fund, or do you have to do each one separate? Like, if there's a family that gives for, like what we had is signage in there, and the family gave X amount of dollars. Does each family have to call it a different fund, or everything? Like, let's say the Clark family, the Yasko family, and the Doran family decides to give X amount of dollars. Can they all go underneath the same funds and just be calculated that this was, $500 for this, $500 for that, so on and so forth?
They would all go into this gift fund unless there's a specific trust. Like, we
Okay.
do have one trust account.
Right.
Specific to a family, and the funds are only to be spent to that particular plot. But other than that, it would go into the gift account.
Now, with that trust fund that we have, my question to you is, if the cemetery commission, if there was someone, a family member that had passed away, but there was another friend or something that wanted to put in toward that, they can come to you and say, I would like this just to go for this particular trust.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Does that all make sense?
Right,
So what we had before that didn't get approved could have gone into the trust fund.
What didn't get approved?
The couple that wanted to give us money for from the town, that should have been able to go into the,
I guess now I'm not sure what you're talking, what family was going to, are we talking about the cleaning of the stone? The trust?
the trust.
No, I think you're talking about the building of the
Of the
wall.
wall.
You're talking-
There was a family that wanted to give us some money. That should have been able to go under the trust fund.
Or the gift fund.
Or the gift fund.
The gift fund, right?
Yeah.
Well, again, that would have to have been, Jennifer, can I bring you into this conversation?
You can, I don't know how much I'm gonna be able to respond off the cuff.
Okay, so, not to put you, again, I'm not trying to put you on the spot here, so the situation went like this, and maybe you can help us understand this. So the situation, there was a family that wanted to come forward with X amount of dollars for one particular item, which would have been the wall for the cemetery. We didn't have all the money to complete that wall, meaning it was X amount of dollars. The family felt, again, that they were going to wait until, again, however the rules and regulations are as far as the town manager. And it was my understanding that's why it's been waited on at this point in time, and if that family still wants to go forward or not. So all I'm asking you is that something that you need to be brought into when it's something, if somebody wants to give a gift that way regarding that?
So typically, the town manager does not need to be brought in to the acceptance of a gift or a donation of the gift. The treasurer collector, however, certainly does need to be brought in.
Okay.
If the gift is a restricted gift in some sort of way, which it sounds like this is a restricted gift, the intent of the donor needs to be clearly identified, and the town, through the treasurer collector, needs to make sure that we are following that intent.
Okay. And the next step is, again, it's my understanding that you stand before the select board to have it approved, is
So
that correct?
it depends on, we're actually just in the process of adopting a gift policy through the select board.
Okay.
And it speaks to cemetery commission in that draft policy that there are some gifts that would not need to be accepted depending on the type of account they're going into, because they're handled statutorily elsewhere. There are some gifts that would only be accepted by the cemetery commission that the select board does not have jurisdiction over. But if it doesn't fall under that statutory provision of that gift type, then yes, the select board would formally accept the gift. Otherwise, if it's under that specific statute, then it would be this body that would be formally accepting those gifts.
Okay. Thank you for that clarification. Sorry to put you on the spot. Thank you. Any other questions on that?
No, I think that's good.
Nope. Bill? No? Okay.
Okay, all right, thank you.
All right. Well, thank you. Thank you again. This is always very helpful, and we appreciate all your hard work, Ezekiel. Okay. DPW Director, would you like to give us your progress reports and what's going on?
Sure. So since the last meeting, we've had 1 full burial, 5 cremation burials. The superintendent has repaired a bunch of foot markers. He found some were in the wrong spot, some were kind of bent, so he made those repairs. He's made a bunch of updates in Rainmaker. You know, occasionally he'll find something missing, or it'll say the body's buried here, but it's actually over here, so he's made those changes.
Can I stop you just for one quick second as you go through it? So the one question I have is regarding when you put the foot marker in. Is that done by the DPW, or is that done by like Leominster Monument or whoever?
I believe it's typically the monument company.
Okay,
So the ones that he's done, you know, he found they were in the wrong spot, or one was kind of bent,
yep.
so he's just made repairs to those.
So he made repairs, so it's not, that's why I was trying to ask, because I wasn't sure, is there a fee? So you don't get a fee for that, for the DPW doing that, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so it does technically come from the first part, which is the monument place? Okay.
Right.
All right, sorry to interrupt you
No,
on
that's
that.
okay. We're continuing with the spring cleanup. We're in the process of trying to hire seasonal laborers, so I think the last meeting I reported that 2 of the guys that were here last year were coming back, but it turns out they can only be here a very short period because they're in college. So we're looking at other candidates. So we have one lined up, and hopefully we can hire him soon, and we're still looking for one more.
Okay. Do you think you'll have them on board before Memorial Day? Or that's your goal?
Well, it'll be tight, but that's the goal.
Okay.
We've also reached out to the Department of Corrections, and they've tentatively told us, yeah, they can come out and help. They haven't given us dates yet. And we've reached out to Lakeview Landscaping to help us with mowing if needed, so the week before Memorial Day. If we need them, they'll be there for us. The South Cemetery flagpole pad project, we've reached out to the contractor there. We're just waiting for a date when he says he's ready to go. And the same with the flagpole lights. We've reached out to that contractor, and as soon as he gives us a date, he'll get in there.
Okay.
The date hopefully is going to be before
Yes.
May 31st?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Well, what was the second item?
The flagpole lighting
Light, okay,
project?
flagpole light.
Yeah. What else? The Fish Street, that wall project, I reached out to Richard McGrath to see where he's at, and he didn't get back to me yet.
Okay. You're going to keep on that?
Yeah, definitely.
Because I think, like I said, when the interim town manager stopped that project for the right reasons, I think all we were doing is just waiting to find out how much it was going to be for the rocks to build.
Yeah, so
Okay.
I'll try to get a hold of him again.
Okay.
That's about it. And then I know at the last meeting, we talked about file cabinets, so I looked around, sent some information to Dave.
Right.
We think 2 file cabinets would be sufficient for all the files that we have there.
Okay, I'm going to let Dave start on what he's found, and then I'm going to go back to that. We can talk about that in a
Okay.
second.
Okay.
Because I had a meeting yesterday with Jennifer to go over some items, and I just wanted to, make sure that we're all on the same page of all of this.
You each have a copy of what Bill sent me which is a number of different file cabinets that are fire resistant and waterproof, ranging, I think the most expensive is $2,879, and I think the least expensive was around $1,744. However, the town also has a contract with WB Mason, so you each have the, it's called a sales order or quotation from WB Mason, which they provided 2 different file cabinets, one black, one tan. Both have the same rating, 1 hour in case of fire. There's 1 hour fire resistant, and they're both water resistant, water repellent. For some reason, the black one is $1,000 more than the tan one. The weight is a little bit less on the tan one, which we got to make sure, and I'm sure the DPW is just all cement. So, but I was told to make sure that it's put on a cement foundation, because one of them is 508 pounds and the other is 445 pounds.
Okay.
I don't think it makes a difference as far as the color goes, and unless there's some thing with the DPW that they want a particular color, so I guess I would recommend going with the tan one if we decide to
Okay.
vote on it.
Okay. So with that being said, I do have some questions, and if there's anybody else that has any questions, and thank you, Dave, and thank you, Bill, for taking care of this and looking into this for us. My biggest question is what is that, and I'm going to call it a project because it really is, going to look like with the boxes? How many boxes do we have? About?
4 or 5. But the other piece is all the little index cards with all the grave information,
Yep.
right? So those need to go into. There's,
Oh, I thought there was something
There's
like
about-
10 to 12 boxes.
no, they're
No?
underneath the desk, so there's only about 4 or 5. Yeah.
Okay. Somehow okay, so 4 or 5 boxes. So my question is, from day one with the Cemetery Commission, when we went forward to getting the software, Raymaker, we wanted to make sure that all of that information was put in to the system. What do you need to go and figure out how much time that's going to be for someone to do that, number one? Does it make sense that we all look at, do we go hire someone like a data person to come in to start putting that information into the software? Because I don't, and it's, again, the committee that decides as far as, how many we actually need to put all this information in. Will we do better by, grabbing the DD-214s that have been talked about for a while now, that those are in a double lock, meaning they're in the file cabinet, which is then behind the closed door. You have a closed door. Is there other closed doors that could be sitting in, that file cabinet?
Well, the building itself is locked, right?
Yeah, but double locking means I don't know if that's what that's considered, or it needs to be in someone's office.
That I'm not sure. Just a quick thought on the boxes. I looked through a couple of them just fast, and I didn't really see anything that needs to be added to Raymaker. I think all the pertinent information is already in there. I think it's just a lot of old files and stuff. It should be gone through. right?
To figure out if it really,
If
what
there's
that
anything
project
that
looks
really
like.
needs to go in, but yeah, it's a big project, right? You have to, read the paper, check Raymaker, is it there?
Right.
Yeah.
So all I'm asking is that something that you can do, is go and find out what that project's going to look like? Meaning, let's say you come back and say, look, to the Cemetery Commission, I think it's going to be 60 hours or 100 hours of work. What is that going to entail? How much money? Again, can we get a student, pay a minimum wage, have them come in and just start the process? And then knowing what that project's going to look like, if that's what is decided. And then, go ahead.
Yeah, I can give it a time estimate, I believe, yeah.
Okay. Because it's my understanding that some of those 1800s, 1700s records are there. Does it make sense that you get a big file tote, put that stuff in there, so at least it's not going, obviously it will burn, but again, depending on what the town has, what the town's capability of is keeping these things safe as far as records, does it make sense to put some of that into buy those boxes, which is no kind of cost, and then just buy the one file cabinet for the DD-214s. Do you have any idea how many DD-214s you have?
No idea. Yeah, you'd have to go through the boxes, see what's in there. The quick skim I went through, I didn't see any.
Now, is everything filed by lot owner then? Like, you don't have all DD 214s together?
That's what I would, yeah.
No, the index cards are by plot. The boxes is just mishmash.
Okay.
Yeah,
So you don't know? what-
I don't.
Right.
So once it goes in the boxes, it's just boxed?
right. Well, as far as I know, nothing's been added to them in 10 years. They've just been sitting there.
Oh, okay. So where are the current, like, I guess if somebody comes in, and maybe it's the funeral director that takes care of a lot of this, and you're just getting, I guess, I don't understand the whole process anyway.
Right. Well, now everything's scanned and put into Raymaker. We don't keep hard copies.
Okay, so you don't keep any records? Okay.
Hard copies, no, it's all in Raymaker.
So when someone passes away, all the paperwork that the superintendent did to put the person in the plot, what happens to the paperwork? You discard it? You're not filing it?
Well, after time, yeah. Yeah.
You discard it.
So back that up for 1 second. So where are the DD-214s? Because we've tried to, we know they're with you, meaning at the DPW. Where are they now? And how many are we talking, Bill? This is all in the past, because what my understanding is from talking to the state level is that, does the funeral home, do you even need the DD-214s? I know why you need it, is because you need to prove again that you're gonna have that, special foot marker, so on and so forth, that it has to be sent in. Do you, DPW, do you go on to line and send that in that way so that you can get that? Meaning, you have to go in a secured site as far as the government, so on and so forth. That's what you're doing today, is that correct?
Right, so we take a paper copy, we scan it, it's actually faxed over to the veterans, and they send us the marker, so we know to put a flag.
Okay. Because there are some cemeteries that are doing, that go right into the site and they scan it, but, okay. So why let's rethink about this. Do we really need to have the DD-214s? Because in most cases, like I have my original DD-214 for a World War II vet, which was, one of my stepdads. So again, usually the funeral home hands it back to you. So why does the town need to keep this? I guess that's my
A
question.
hard copy we don't need, right, because it's scanned in Raymaker.
So you do have scanning in Rainmaker that it is sitting out there, in Rainmaker,
Right,
for the DD-214s.
right, it's in there.
Are we sure that,
Then I'm not
So-
sure how it's in there, because I had one of the Rainmaker's representatives go in, and they are not showing, they're showing If they're there, they're in an image, which means we've got 10,900 or 10,500 images.
Correct. Right, so the
it's not a
public-facing side, nobody could see that. It's only if you have the password to get into the back end. That's the only people that can see
And
it.
the only people that have that is the DPW and the Cemetery Commission.
Correct.
Okay.
Well, I think just the DPW, the images are by permission, I think, because we can go to the town website, go to the cemetery department, we can see everybody in the country, everybody on the internet has access to our cemetery information
Correct.
and images that have been selected as visible.
Correct.
So the data is public. And it seems like it is for most cemeteries, because
Yeah,
if you
correct.
go into like cemetery search, they show you what cemetery are you searching.
Right, so different forms don't show on the public-facing side.
Right.
They're still in the program there,
Right,
right? Only, us with the password can see that.
yeah. So you're saying, like, if a veteran is buried tomorrow, you put the DD 214 in?
Correct.
Okay.
But, there is a but there. My only concern is, like I said, is when you look at the database and you go in, if the image is there, you've got to lock that image that the public can't see it. Is that what's being done? Is that what?
That's correct.
Okay,
Yeah, I think there's
okay,
X image categories. The picture of the gravestone is a category 1, the deed is a category X, and then these
Yep.
others are in locked compartment.
Correct.
right.
Were you saying that everything is sent over, not just the DD 214s, but the contracts and everything are sent over to Rainmaker? Because when I just asked you, you're not keeping any files. So if we get someone that comes back to us and says, I'd like a refund because we're not going to be burying our relative there, we have no proof that they even paid for it unless we go into Rainmaker. Is
Correct.
that right? So
Well,
we
and
don't-
we'd have the little index card too, right?
Yeah, but that's not a contract.
True. Right, so the contract is scanned and it's in Rainmaker.
That's the
But the
deed.
public doesn't get to see that.
No, he's talking about anything, meaning if somebody wants to get their lot back, meaning if they want to sell their lot back.
Well, there's no contract, there's a deed, right?
Right.
So the deed says who was sold to how much
That's what I'm,
and the
yeah,
date.
Right.
And then that's put into Rainmaker.
That's correct.
And that's not necessarily really secure, because that's probably public information anyways.
I
So-
think this is a deeper discussion, don't you, or thinking about
Yeah.
this again, I think for this commission,
Right.
to dot our i's, cross our t's. I think methodically it needs to be thought out strategically on this. That's my recommendation.
I just would like to make sure that Rainmaker, when something's sent to them, and it has to do with a deed, and there's money involved, I wouldn't want the public to be able to see how much, any contract or any deed. I mean, that's private information. So I would want to make sure that Rainmaker isn't putting that out
It's not
there.
Rainmaker, that it's whoever puts it in. It's got to be put in properly, correctly, and then made sure. And I think that's the pieces that I think needs to be looked at.
Yeah, and we need to find out, I don't think deeds are private information. I mean, you can go into any registry of deed in Massachusetts and find out who owns the plot,
Right.
what mortgage company they went through. But that's just my thought.
Right.
So I guess we would need the official word, but
Yeah.
Okay.
Jennifer, can I pull you aside again? Sorry. So we just, like I said, I think the thing that we're struggling and trying to work through is, again, this is going to be a bigger project, which that's not the problem. I think the problem is really understand the Rainmaker, to understand how those were put in, where they are on the images, to make sure that certain things are locked down so the public cannot see it, but that everything is secured. I guess that's my biggest thing as far as being on the cemetery commission, is to make sure that we've done everything properly, to make sure, to the best of our knowledge, that we've done this correctly. Would you agree with that and your thoughts?
Well, I think that the question was, first, you need to determine what information in there is indeed private and which is not, right?
Right.
So there was a little bit of discussion that I heard about what is truly private. My sense is that there's not a lot of information that is truly private. A lot of what we do is a matter of public record, and there are exemptions, though, to the public records. And so, you know, Bill and his staff make determinations of what should be private and what is not. And as long as there are policies and procedures in place that they are ensuring that that information is segregated within the program, then we'd be covered.
Okay. The only piece that I keep bringing up is the fact that with the images, when you have images, you've either got to lock them all down, or you've got to let them all open. You can't just lock down certain things, is my understanding. Now, if I'm wrong, then please, and maybe I am, but I think that's what I found out from Rainmaker. So when you have all those images, which are out there.
When you say images, are you saying like a .png or .jpeg file versus a .pdf? I mean, I don't know if it's possible.
They're not in PDF. If they were PDF,
I was going to say,
that would be great.
I don't know if it's possible just to have a conversion project where you convert any of the .pngs or JPEGs to a .pdf that happen to be that type of information. So if it's a image of a DD214, convert that to a PDF, and then perhaps, I don't know the software enough to know if that's possible, but perhaps you can segregate it by converting the image document to a PDF.
I think it has to be one at a time, because I've talked to them, but again, don't quote me on that. Go ahead.
Right, so I'm not sure what the image is. Well, it's a scan, so it's a PDF. So when you upload it, I believe the program asks you, do you want this logged or not? Right, so any personal information we log, right? The deeds, that's public information, that's unlocked, right? The picture of the gravesite, that's unlocked, right? So that's the process.
Okay.
The software allows you to log whichever one you want.
So what do you lock?
And those are
Anything
locked.
personal.
They are locked, because if you're
Yeah.
saying you're putting the information in, I went in through the public portal, and that, other than gravestone pictures,
Right,
maybe
that's
a
all you can
deed,
see.
there's nothing, and you can go in through the public portal and say, let me see the veterans. So just from the public portal, anybody that has a web connection can say, let me see Lunenburg's veterans. I'm gonna go look at every stone, everything. And there's the gravestone picture. The
Okay.
owner.
Right.
I mean, I do think in general, if hearing the conversation about the cleanup of the files and the organization of the files together with the software, where this is an initiative, this is a one-time in nature kind of project,
Right.
it's probably unlikely that in his day-to-day duties that the cemetery superintendent has the capacity to really do this in one chunk to really handle it, and that he's been chipping away at it over time. But certainly, if the commission is interested in getting this done in one chunk, you're probably going to have to, put this out for an outside entity to come in and get it to a different baseline than it's at now.
Okay.
Can I ask one more question? So, in talking about the general records, though, we have boxes of records that Bill said are no new records, they're all 10 years old and previous. Should we even be worried, or is that just a town
So,
problem? Is it that our problem, or is it?
So there are, the Massachusetts Secretary of State has a records retention manual for municipalities that is extremely extensive, and it handles a variety of records. While almost everything that we do, just as general municipal government 101 a little bit here, but almost everything we do, we're creating public records of some type. Now, those records, like I said earlier, may be exempt from release for one reason or another, or may be partially exempt for release. But that said, each type of document under that records retention schedule has a different retention. So, for example, if I write a note to myself and I throw that note away, I take a phone message, I throw it away. That is for administrative convenience only. You don't need to email the Secretary of Records in order to destroy it, right? It's administrative convenience. Versus, for example, a set of draft minutes, right? A set of draft minutes are a record until the formal minutes are accepted, and then at that time they can be destroyed without seeking permission. But there's all different, depending on the record type, there's all different times that you need to keep them. Anywhere from 1 year is typically on the low end, permanent on the high end. What we don't, and I think municipalities struggle with this in general, is we don't do a good job of segregating out what we need to keep versus what we can seek permission to destroy. And you often have some place in a town government where there's boxes and boxes of records that we're keeping, and not all of those are records that we need to keep permanently. So it does make sense to go through and separate them into different types of records so that you're not keeping the thing that, or the many things likely, that don't even have a retention to them. TC Passios, we're going to be, as a community, doing a huge purge of records this summer. That's where our kind of collection is of old records. But it is not uncommon, but it's really the understanding what the records retention schedule is for each record type, and then a best practice would be to segregate in it early while you're working on the files and they're not 10 years old and you don't know what's in the box, segregating them by type and labeling them what the destruction date is.
Okay.
And do you have a list of,
Yeah, so it's right online. It's the Municipal Records Retention Schedule. There's, if folks are interested in looking at it, there are records in common that apply to all sorts of different agencies within the town, but then it dials down to specific record types. So everything from payment receipts, everything we touch is in that manual. And we are going to be doing some staff training over the summer as well, because I think a refresher is always good.
Great. Thank you. Thank you so much for bringing.
But who owns those records? Should the commission even be worried about this? Is that under the DPW and town?
Really under the DPW.
So should we?
Unless there's records that of the commission's records, your records of your meetings and your meeting files, those belong to the commission, and the commission should be making sure you're keeping those. Anything that the commission kind of does on its own would belong to the commission. But as it relates to the cemetery and what is physically happening within the cemetery, I'd say those are likely DPW's records.
Okay. But it is our software that, again, that is
yeah.
purchased, and
Right.
that's why this committee has taken this as
Yep.
far as, but working with the DPW to make sure that it's secure, that's all. So, okay, thank you. Thank you so much. So this is my recommendation, and see what your thoughts are. And if you agree or not agree, we can vote on it any way you'd like. If we started you off with one, meaning one file cabinet, to put in the DD2 14s that you need to keep, obviously, for right now, so on and so forth, and how you're doing it. you may find that in that, looking at the boxes, deciding the next project, because I see this as being two projects, and the next one is to figure out if you truly are going to either hire someone in to do this project, how much money it's gonna, what your thoughts are, and look at it that way. What is your two thinkings? I mean, does that sound reasonable to you, Bill?
That's a good approach, yeah.
Okay.
So would you like to take a vote to, and my thought is, my humble thought is, again, always to save money, is the fact that, this one, which is WB Mason, which is the tan color, we don't care what color it is, it doesn't weigh as much, and the fact that it's just about $1,000 less. Would that work again for everyone? So it's that one there. So it's $1,744, which we have stated that we would pay for that.
Okay, so it's just a little short of depth.
It's just a few inches shorter
Yeah,
in depth.
what do you think, Bill? Is that
Yeah, that's the one I was looking at, too.
the one you were thinking? Okay. All right, so do we want to
I
make,
just want to make sure that we have access to it also. So when it gets delivered, I mean, I'm sure there's 2 keys with it, so we should have access to it also.
I think that's a decision that you, the commission, need to make. If that's something, I think that needs to be figured out. I wouldn't say that right at this time, only because of that, of the DD 214s and things. We don't need to see the DD 214s.
Yeah, what do we want to?
We don't, that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to separate this where it needs to be separated, because that piece is, it really isn't.
Well, let me ask you then, why are we purchasing the cabinet if we're not really,
Because,
why doesn't the DPW purchase it?
because my humble opinion is because we have the money that could purchase it for them. It's a good gesture. For the software, like I said, we have the software. We're the ones that purchase the software for them. I kind of look at this as it goes hands in hand a little bit, but.
Yeah, we
What-
could say, you're day-to-day, but our sale of lots is day-to-day, so we could say, we're going to take, or it could be, part of, the cost of the land, its care, improvement, it's part of, we can say it's part of the cemetery, but the DPW has the control, just like the lawnmowers and all, so.
Right.
I think it's a good buy to get this going, kick it off, give you that resource, and,
Right. And then maybe we can figure out, again, your next piece, your next phase of this is to figure out how much money it's gonna cost, how many hours it's gonna cost to bring someone in. Maybe then you could maybe share the cost, maybe not. Like I said, I think it all needs to be looked at and see what the cost is actually be to that. But I think it's a good gesture with, again, the software. To me, they go hand in hand a little bit.
yeah, and then your data, you are receiving paperwork on a daily or weekly basis, if it's stuff that you need to lock up preferably, instead of leave on a desk or put in a drawer, you can
Correct.
put it in the
Right.
cabinet, and you're
Right.
good until it's scanned and destroyed.
And the DPW, again, anything that a lot is going to be, someone is going to resell it back to the town, or, again, they're gonna be given money back, you have to file that paperwork, it has to come to us, we'll be signing it, so it's not like we're not seeing those things. I guess that's the point. As far as the DD2, I do not, my thoughts, especially having military in our family, is that you don't need to see that. That's something personal of that particular person. And that has been brought up, and like I said, I do agree with that piece of it. That's my humble opinion on that,
Okay.
as cemetery chair. So do we want to make a motion to, are you okay with this, Dave?
I'm okay with buying them.
Okay. Buying the one.
Can I make a motion to use up to $2,000 from the sale of lots fund to procure a secure file cabinet for record keeping for the DPW.
I second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I-
Motion passed. Ezekiel, I just want to ask one question as we're just motioned this and stuff. Is you're fine with that, doing that way of pulling it from that fund, correct? Yes. Okay. Perfect. And Bill, you're okay with?
Oh, yeah, this is
okay.
good.
Perfect. Okay. Are we ready for public comment? Is there anything that needs to be stated on this end? Do you want to say anything about what you're talking
No,
about?
I did distribute what I was putting together just to capture our meeting discussions and projects we talked about and committed to. I put in, and in if case, any other organizations in the town, like the Finance Committee, want a snapshot of where we are. And it basically gives the charge and the board where our cemeteries are, you know, the snapshots from the GIS information, so people can see. I was surprised to see our North Cemetery with the back, not the back lot for development, the back lot, which is mostly wetlands, is let's see, what is that, about a 50-acre plot. So it's pretty extensive. And then, yeah, brief slide holder on each project, just so we can say, okay, you know, like the Fish Street, you know, have we quoted the rocks for the wall? Have we purchased them? Have we prepped the area? When's the install going to be done? Things like that. And then the RAM maker data on number of burials by year. So we can kind of look at when our current inventory of sellable lots will be bled down and we need more space. Because I think too, long-term, you know, at one point, somebody stood on the corner of Page Street and said, you know, do we want 25 by 50 feet? And someone else said, no, we want 200 by 1,000 feet. And that has worked well for us for 300 years. But now we're at that point, we're at the last, very end of South Cemetery. And, yeah, North Cemetery, of course, we have our plans to expand that lot. But, you know, at some point, what do we even want to propose another acquirement of a large parcel?
So I just wanted to, is anything else?
No, that's it, that's
Okay.
it.
So I just wanted to say again, thank you, Mike, for putting all of this together. It'll be a work in progress. Bill, I know you probably haven't had time to totally look at it. You're going to meet with Mike regarding it. I think the most important thing, it's a cheat sheet. It's basically it's like an operational
Right.
manual, so that all the information will be there, and if there's any other committees, Ezekiel has been also looking at it. And then I think the final piece is definitely send it to the town manager and let her
Okay.
review it to see if there's anything that we haven't thought of, needs to be in there, and I think then we're pretty good with it, and then just keep it updated.
Okay.
That's my thoughts.
Thank you, Michael.
Oh, you're welcome.
I know it's a lot of work you put into it.
So, all right, let's go into, if there's anything else? No? Yes? Okay, let's go into public comment. Do we have any public comments today?
I think I'm the only public. Don't know, anybody have Zoom? No. Hi, everyone. John Bowen, 162 Highland Street. Just wanted to comment on a couple of things. The record retention law, for the Massachusetts public records retention law is different from the federal government's law under the Freedom of Information Act as well as under the Privacy Act of 1974. Those are completely separate from what is on loan to the town that would belong to the federal government. For example, DD 214, Social Security numbers, that belongs to the Department of Treasury, Department of Defense. That falls under federal law, not state law. The state only has that on loan, and that is the federal law, that any federal record within the state is only on loan by the federal government agency who gave it to you for loan and is not for dissemination by, that's why we have a veterans officer. So if somebody needs a DD 214, they're cleared by the federal government. That's just to clear that up. As far as throwing records out, Bill, I have to say that I think that you're incorrect. I don't think you're throwing records out. You aren't throwing records out, are you? Because then you'd be in violation of the Massachusetts Public Records Law. You just admitted here publicly that the cemetery superintendent is throwing out your records. Is that true? I mean, I'm kind of concerned with that. And I think that that's your oversight, and you should probably check in on that, because you shouldn't be throwing out records. Even if you scan them into a computer, there's still records, okay, that need to be kept for paper for a certain amount of years. I believe Massachusetts' majority of it's 7 to 10 years. So that being said, I kind of have a problem with the throwing out of records. Lastly, I think that the discussion for the Raymaker program has been admitted to what I have been saying, that there is access in the back end to DD 214s and scanned items and documents of which you have gained and acquired access without permission. And I think that I'm not the only citizen that's been calling this board and making comments with regard to that, and that's why this got raised today. I just want to make sure that it's very clear that, I know you're tapping her, I'm at my 3 minutes. Okay, don't worry, Dave, you can say it. I think that it's very clear, okay, that you finally started to look at exactly what I have been bringing forward. Now what you need to look at is the Cemetery Mutual Benefit Cemetery Corporation, of which I have brought forward and presented to this town, and see how that can benefit, because what you're saying is you don't want to deplete a fund. You don't want to deplete money from your perpetual care money or from your sale of lots money. You want to hold that. Well, why don't you try turning it around? Pay attention to my presentation. Instead of ignoring me for 3 years, you should have listened to my presentation and accepted my offer to present it here, then try to call the police on me. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Bowen. Is there any other public comments? Okay, during this time, do you want me to, I am going to basically have a public comment here. Basically, this is as I leave the Cemetery Commission. I would like to read what I have put together and know from my heart and also from the Cemetery Commission of what we have done from day one of the Cemetery Commission being put into place. My experience as Cemetery Commission Chair has been more than insightful and informative as the workings of the town government. Our time together has come to an end as my term is ending in May. The Cemetery Commission has been blessed with special individuals that stood behind this commission and what it stands for. We have all navigated through rough waters while finding our compass in a time of my leadership that I am proud of. Our ability to steer the ship forward was not easy for our commission, but with the support from our past interim town manager, Carter Tranzini, our new town manager, Jennifer Warren, Select Board Vice Chair Michael Ray Jeffries, and other board members, Town Council Adam Costa, Financial Director Ezekiel Anala, and several dedicated individuals and residents that supported these efforts. I am personally grateful for all their support. I would also like to thank both commissioners that have given their time unselfishly by serving with me during this time. They will be steering this commission forward in the years to come. each one caring for the process while each one caring for the Cemetery Commission and how it serves the town of Lunenburg. It has been my honor to stand in front of the town and to thank you for the knowledge that I have received being your Cemetery Commission Chair. I wish this commission the very best in going forward as I step off. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I just would like to say that you have put a lot of effort into being on the commission here and being the chair. It does take a lot when you come on board to know about the town policies, to know about what you can do and what you can't do. Town politics is a big thing with being on the board here. And you have done a great job in proceeding to put this commission in place. I really appreciate that. The townspeople will see what you've done, and I think it's just been fantastic. Some people would say that having a person, no matter male or female, as a chairperson, I can say that you have put effort behind the scenes into this position. And I don't know if we can really stand up to what you've done when you leave. I hope we do. But I think you've put a lot of effort into it, and I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yes. Thank you, Dave. That was very well said.
Yes, thank you. You guys.
Some flowers to token of our appreciation there.
Thank you very much. Thank you, that's lovely. I just, like I said, just in closing, I just can't thank you all enough for all your efforts. It's not been easy, and I thank you for all that you've done. And like I said, I wish you the best going forward. I would like to say a special thank you that I didn't, is that Kathy Couric and her organization and Ellen and the ones behind the scenes with Joe and also Heidi from Public Access, and there's just so many different mechanisms that's behind the scenes of processes that people do. I just can't thank you enough. It's so much appreciated. And Bill, thank you for your time of being here and going through this process. So, with that being said, is there anything else?
Nope.
Okay, I would like to adjourn this meeting. Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We are